Hello and welcome to LarpForge, a LARP channel where I try to interpret your English and translate it pretty poorly sometimes. Today it's about axes, or more specifically, duct tape axes. Do I have a bruise or something? If you get an intro, don't let it be violent. Okay, but you guys have asked for this in the comments a lot. Well, okay, maybe just one guy, but he asked in a lot of videos, and I'm kind of getting tired of looking at that little comment. So I'm going to make a duct tape axe. Enough about mindless violence. Let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to use are some foam, and like always, it's our very wonderful sleeping pad. And when you're using or making duct tape weapons, you can pretty much get away with using pretty much any type of foam. So a normal sleeping pad, yeah, that's great. I also have some older scraps that I'm probably also going to be using, that are also very old, worn down, so they're perfect for making duct tape weapons out of. Then I am going to use some glue, or contact cement to be more specific. Of course, I could use double-sided tape, but contact cement is really the better option when it comes to making LarpForge weapons. It sticks a lot better. It makes everything just, it doesn't really fall apart. The only bad thing about it is that it can become rather hard. Like when it hardens, it becomes really hard with the weapons, which is evidently why I try to use latex in some of my really old tutorials. It just don't really work that well, because if you start hitting with it, the latex is gonna come loose. Before you're looking around, you are standing with a core in the hand and the foam somewhere out there in the battlefield. So don't use latex, it's gonna get battered up. Contact cement, it's gonna stick. It's gonna be the foam that breaks, not the contact cement. And of course, I'm going to use some duct tape. If you're using gray or black, it's entirely up to yourself. I'm going to make mine gray. Oh no, don't roll away. Stay here, stay here. And I am also going to use some brown packaging tape. If you can find brown duct tape, that would also work as well. Actually, that would work pretty well. You could also alternatively use black duct tape for this. This is going to be used on the shaft, and this is going to be used on the blade. Pro tip: if you want your duct tape weapon to last longer, get some good duct tape. Not the really cheapo kind. Like for instance, you remember this old fella here? Old buffer sword thingy that I made with the bamboo core? I used some cheap ass duct tape on this because, well, I wasn't intending on using it for anything. But over time the duct tape is going to get loose unless you get the really good one that sticks a lot better. The quality is really in the glue, and also a little in the tape itself. The good kind are usually the ones with, you can clearly see some what's called thread underneath. It's a lot stronger, and it usually also sticks a lot better. This is the cheaper version, which are going to get loose in very warm weather, or well, just warm weather and over time. And then the only thing I need is the core. Now for the core, I could of course use something like bamboo or a glass fiber core, or what's it called? Fiberglass, not glass fiber, it's reversed in Danish. Fiberglass core or bamboo like I've used in the past. But I am not going to use this weapon really so much, because I don't really use duct tape weapons that often, and you guys didn't seem to like me using bamboo. So I'm going to use what's called PVC pipe. And the only PVC pipe I have is from this, the old cricket bat. So I'm going to strip this down until I get the core on the inside, and just use that for a core. I'm using a clean knife to strip this down, and I used double-sided tape to make the cricket bat. I didn't remember that. Ta-da! Okay, so it's not entirely free of tape, but it's good enough as it is. I am going to figure out what length I want in it. For that, I'm going to take my latex axe. It's a nice length for an axe, although I do find it a bit short sometimes. So maybe a lot long, not a lot, but just a little longer. So around there seems to be fine, yeah. Now that I have it in my length that I want, I will need to cut out some foam in the right length that I wanted, and I'm going to roll the foam around the shaft, which I'm going to make first. The foam, I'm going to roll it around, so yeah, this and that length. Around this length seems to be fine. I'm going to make it a little longer because I'm not gonna put any security on the edges on the PVC pipe. Now that might actually be a good idea to do. You can do that with just some duct tape. It's not gonna make it secure for stabbing, but it's gonna make it a lot more sturdy so it doesn't start to eat away of the foam, or not eat away, but cut through the foam. Now it's time to glue everything together. I'm going to take a brush here and dip it in the contact cement and just start applying. Oh wait, oh, this is just stupid. Dude, shouldn't use a brush for this. I just use, it's gonna ruin the brush. Just use some scrap foam instead. It's a really good, it's really old idea, or a really old LARP tip or building tip. Just if you have some leftover scrap foam, just the really small square pieces, don't throw those away. You're gonna use them for painting with contact cement. By the way, remember to be like in a well-ventilated area, or you're gonna have some very funny, you're gonna have a gluing headache. You're gonna go crazy. Okay, so with one side of the foam glued down with contact cement, or not glued down but have contact cement on it, I need to apply it to the core so the core can actually stick to it, because you need contact cement on both sides that are going to stick together. And I'm also going to apply contact cement to the other side of the foam. So once the first side of the foam has dried, or like it's dipping dry, like you can just dip it without it actually being... It still needs to stick a little, but not be like, it needs to be like dip, 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 dip. Yeah, then you'll figure it out once you start working with it. Turn the foam around and apply glue to the other side. I should probably mention it's a good idea to have some sort of slightly clean workspace while you do this. Otherwise you're gonna have a lot of dust, a lot of things stick to the back side of the foam where you already have glue. Personally, I have this board of wood that I put on top of my own table, so that when I cut, I don't cut the table, and when I glue, I don't glue the table. Once it has dried out, just lift it off a little so the contact cement doesn't stick too much to the table. Put your core on the foam, roll it really tight. Roll it really tight up. Now I actually didn't roll mine tight enough, because you can see there's a little, it sort of created an air bubble in the end there. It's not going to create that big of a problem because it's going to be covered with duct tape and packaging tape, so I can actually just afterwards just tighten it up with some duct tape, which is what I'm going to do. But if I were to cover it with something like latex, I would have to cut it up or roll it again or something like that. I'm going to press my ends because I kind of like the look of that. It makes it look a little more organic, not like a round rod of some sort. Now it's time to make it a little smoother. It still has that little edge that you can see there, so in order to get rid of that, I'm going to take my knife, which has a clean blade, because there's a lot of glue on this, so you're gonna need a clean blade to cut through all of this. I'm going to take my knife, or X-Acto knife in this case, and I'm going to cut it at an angle and just cut it down. It doesn't have to be that nice. You don't have to worry so much about that, because again, we're gonna cover it up with tape later on. So you are not going to see a lot of the details that you put into this. Just a general rule of thought. If you're going to make duct tape weapons or tape weapons, you're gonna lose a lot of the details. That, however, in our case, is a good thing, because that means you can mess up a lot more than you otherwise maybe wanted to. It's a really good idea to start out with duct tape weapons before you move on to making like latex weapons or something like that. Now, I'm going to fold my axe head around like this. Instead of having two separate pieces, I'm going to like fold it around. That way I save a little foam, and I'm also gonna make it a little more sturdy. Okay, so I take my foam, put it underneath, figure out, okay, I want my head to be this size. I cut out a square, figure out my shape, I cut it up, so like roughly, and then I take an extra piece of foam, because I want a piece of foam to be in the middle between the two, just to create a little more thickness, otherwise the blade is going to, otherwise the head is going to be very flimsy on the axe, and I don't really want that. So I take this piece of foam and I cut it out like roughly in the same shape. Now that I have everything here figured out, like roughly the shapes, I'm going to apply some contact cement to the inside of my axe head, and the one middle to both sides, and also to the end of the shaft. Once all of it has dried out, like again, dipping worthy, you just apply one side, or well, yeah, you just apply it. You put the axe head on and press it firmly together. The only thing you're gonna need now is cut an edge and apply the tape. So that's what I'm going to do. First I apply a new blade to my knife and I cut sorta like an edge on the axe head. If I wanted to, I could of course cut through here and make it like Gimli's axe head. His is like hollow, I think, but I'm not really going to do that. Or should I? I don't really know. Maybe I should. Screw it, let's cut it up and let's make it a little hollow. Who's saying that duct tape weapon can't have a little detail in between? Okay, so now that everything has been cut out, I'm gonna go down to the other end, which was, you know, the fluffy thing, and I'm gonna take some duct tape and I'm just gonna firmly tighten that area so it's gonna be really tight and not have that squishy feeling to it. Done doing that, I am going to start applying my gray duct tape. And I'm putting the gray on first because it's the strongest, so it's going to create a lot more durability or making it a lot more sturdy. Again, like I said in the tutorial with the duct tape buffer sword, apply your tape like on the far side, well not the far side, the long side. You don't want to see a lot of wrapping with the tape, you want to keep as few edges of the tape as possible. It's going to be a little harder to do on the head, so I'm going to put one on the edge, one strip of tape on the edge, and then I'm going to sort of work my way back and just wrap it around the head and keeping it strong and sturdy. And I'm going to make it go down the shaft a little on the axe. That way I create again a little more stability from the head down, because on an axe it's the head that's really loose part hanging out there. It doesn't have a core, so to create it as sturdy as possible I'm going to put so much duct tape I can from the head of the axe down to the shaft of the axe. Finished, looking very, very deadly and everything. Of course I could, as you can see, because this is kind of thick up here, I could of course also have done that on the other end and thereby creating a little more maybe realistic axe handle, axe shaft, or whatever you call it. It's a little heavy in the front. The hole here didn't really turn out as great as I wanted to, but still looks pretty damn good. It creates a little detail, and over time, once this has been hit into enough things, it will start to look a little better. One important little crucial detail is that when you work with duct tape or just tape in general, get your edges straight. What I did here was put my gray duct tape on first, or silver, and then I went around here with the brown. Yes, I said it went around, like I said I shouldn't do, but I did it anyway because it creates a lot more defined shape on it. And it's not really that something you notice that much. So now that I made this axe, can I finally get rid of that little, could you please make a duct tape axe tutorial on the top of every single video I make? Wait, it was supposed to be a double-headed axe? Anyway, you just make the head bigger. Instead of wrapping it around, you just go out on the other side, smack it together like a pancake on top of another pancake. Double-sided axe head. Yeah, you can figure it out. If you can figure this out, you can figure that out. Now that I have this, and I also have like a Ducttape sword. So yeah, actually I think this was a really good tutorial. Remember, if you have any requests, leave them down there, or yeah, I'll figure it out. I have a long list of requests of things, so it's not like I'm running out of stuff to do. And I am updating my costume at the moment, so a lot of new things are coming. I usually make tutorials about stuff that I need in my own LARP arsenal, because, well, I don't really have the budget or money for just go out and spending on every single little tutorial. So yeah, I'm probably not going to use this axe, maybe not. Before I say goodbye, I want to point out, if you guys have anything you want to put up on this wall, like a poster, picture, LARP thingamajig, you can send it to an email I'm gonna leave down in the description. Otherwise, I'm gonna see you LARPers later. Bye. This axe is really nice for a dwarf. Don't think it will be that good for an orc though, it looks a little too fancy.